Alright guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and today we're going to talk about my experience putting a catless downpipe on a BMW X7. I know that doesn't seem like something that most people would want to do, but again, I just like doing stuff. So a lot of you guys are curious about the experience, how it sounds, do I have to worry about check engine lights? Is it okay without a tune? All those things. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that in this video. So hopefully you guys find it useful.
Now, as always, for everybody that's new to the channel, I create these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments in our community, as well as discuss technical topics so that we have a better understanding of how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe because there will be a lot more coming out in the future.
Now, really quick, shameless plug, the downpipe that I installed is from Bimmer Network, and I will have a link to their product in the video description. They're a big supporter of the channel, so I was really excited to slap some of their parts on the car. And if you guys use that link, that is my affiliate link, so it does help support the channel as well. So check that out. The downpipe fits Gen 1 and Gen 2 B58, so it's a great product to get a little more performance and sound out of your BMW. So first of all, let's start off with some sound clips. So here's how the car sounds in a bunch of various situations. Now, I don't know if you guys heard that. I think I mixed up that video with the Supra or something, so I apologize, but hopefully you guys get the picture for how the car sounds. I think in general it sounds pretty good. Cold start is still obnoxious, at least in my opinion. Normally I disable cold start on my cars, so that's why I don't get to enjoy it like a lot of you guys do. But it's got that big boomy deep roar on cold start that kind of drones on. And for regular driving, I mean, it sounds pretty good. At idle, you don't really hear much, but when you floor it, it's definitely much louder, especially in person. Even my wife noticed in the car when she was driving, she was like, why does it sound like I'm racing everybody? So it just gives you that little bit of extra exhaust note to enjoy the car, but I've still got, the stock Catback and all that stuff. It's just a downpipe. So, for me, that's plenty. Of course, it gives you the actual performance benefit of having a downpipe without having any of the other crazy noises you might not want in your daily driver. Now, next, let's talk about, some of the things a lot of you guys are concerned about, like the smell and check engine light and stuff like that. So for smell, it doesn't smell that bad. I don't really notice it. Most of my cars have a downpipe at some point, so I do get used to it, and I think most people will get used to it as well. But just being completely transparent, it does smell different. You will smell basically everything that the catalytic converter was filtering out. So sometimes you smell a little bit of fuel, sometimes you smell a little bit of oil, depending on how healthy your car is and stuff like that. But you will definitely have more smells from the exhaust. Now, the key thing here is it is smell from the exhaust. So the exhaust is behind you. 99% of the time, you don't smell anything. If you smell a lot inside of the car, it's more likely that you have maybe like an exhaust leak or something if you didn't replace your downpipe gasket. So I would just make sure that everything is seated and secured properly where you mounted the downpipe with that V-band clamp. But otherwise, in most scenarios, unless I come to a stoplight with the windows down, I really don't smell much of anything. Now, the people behind you will definitely smell it, but inside of the car, you really don't have to deal with a lot of smells. Now, as far as the check engine light, I did get one. There's obviously the main one dealing with the catalytic converter. So depending on which downpipe you go with, that may or may not come up. It may or may not take 100 miles. It might take 1,000 miles. But if you don't have a catalytic converter, at some point it's going to come up if you don't have it tuned to disable that code. So that's the regular 180001 catalyst below efficiency code, or whatever that is. It's just for emissions. It doesn't actually affect performance or drivability or anything. So what some people do, they just clear the check engine light every once in a while and deal with it. Now, what I have seen is, even if you do have a tune, sometimes other codes pop up for the O2 sensor, which I have seen. So, I'll be doing a tune review in the future. I do have MHD stage 2 on the car now, and I still got a check engine light. And when I checked it, it gave me this code for the O2 sensor. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I'll show it here on the screen. And a lot of people have reported getting this from time to time. It seems like it's specifically a Gen 2 issue, because I've had a catless downpipe on both of my Gen 1 cars for years and tens of thousands of miles without getting this code. Typically, I would recommend replacing the O2 sensor if this code comes up, but I cleared it once and it never came back. And that's when I looked into it and found that a lot of people get this code. I guess it's just some additional diagnostic monitoring or whatever on the Gen 2 cars. So just keep your ENET adapter on hand. Anytime a check engine light does come up, check it. And if it is that oxygen sensor code, it seems like it is pretty typical. If you have boot mode, great news, you can actually disable that yourself, so you can put that into the tune configuration to hide that code and it'll never come up again. But on MHD, the only way to disable that code completely is to get a custom tune. So you win some, you lose some. And then the last thing is performance. So with a downpipe, the main benefit is you're removing a restriction behind the exhaust. So it's very similar to running a higher flowing intake or a higher flowing intercooler, intake piping, charge piping, all that stuff. It just helps the turbo breathe better. So with just a downpipe, there are marginal improvements. We've seen people post numbers that share with just a downpipe, the turbo will spool more quickly, you'll get a little more performance, but you won't necessarily make a lot more power. The thing is, peak torque down low, getting quicker spool doesn't really give you a lot more top end. So the recommendation is, of course, to pair it with a tune. When you get the tune, it'll hide most of the check engine lights. It will optimize fueling for the additional spool and everything. Some of them also turn up the boost a little bit more to take advantage of, your new capabilities with your downpipe. So all of that is out there. I highly recommend pairing it with a tune. I know a lot of us are now dealing with needing bench unlocks or FEM2 unlocks, so it seems easier just to put a downpipe on the car and enjoy it. That's perfectly fine. But if you take it the next step, the car will be that much safer, everything will work together much better, and of course you'll actually get the big performance improvement with the increased boost that comes with a tune. But yeah, overall, absolutely no regrets. I think for a daily driver, this is probably just about perfect for people that want something that still kind of stays under the radar. I love my exhaust, all of my cars. I do muffler deletes and resonator deletes and stuff like that. But I understand not everybody wants that. So this is kind of like the daily driver spec that a lot of people go with. Just a downpipe, get the performance benefit, tune your car up, and enjoy it. So again, I will have a link in the video description to the downpipe I got. It's from Bimmer Network, and they are a sponsor of the channel. So if you guys shop with them, it helps support me as well. And let me know if you have any other questions or anything that I missed. If you guys have gone this route, let me know your experience. I'd be curious to hear what you have to say. But yeah, I think that's all we had for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.